going through today, all things steam oven, okay? So we're gonna be talking on all the different modes of the steam oven, what to cook on them, what's happening in the modes, and kind of give you guys a couple tips and tricks, because this is truly this is our favorite appliance, but it's also an appliance that needs a little more help, a little more assistance, because it's a new form of cooking. So that's hopefully the goal today, is to get you excited and more comfortable using that steam oven. So my name is Alyssa. I'm Chef Alyssa here in the Salt Lake City showroom for Ross Living. We have Abby behind the camera, who will be here to answer any and all, or shout out to me, any and all questions and comments. So during the class, please keep yourself muted and your video off. Only, I wish I could see your beautiful faces, but only because it will keep the video a little bit clearer for the rest of the group. And obviously we need to mute you, because unfortunately my voice is the only voice you'll be hearing for the next hour. So when you have questions or comments, please type them in the chat box. Abby will be keeping up with them and shouting them out to me. I will then answer them back to you guys. Second form of business, you will be getting all of the recipes that I will be doing today. So don't worry. The recipes you'll see here, we will send them to all of our attendees on this class. So you may ask, don't worry, they will be coming to you. And then we also have Yvonne, who is here in the background. She will be helping and assisting as my sous chef, keeping things running really smoothly, making sure that things are taken out of the oven when they need to, and et cetera, just making sure this runs well, okay? So without further ado, we're gonna jump into the class. First things first, when it comes to steam oven, is we wanna talk about the inside of the steam oven and kind of the basics, the function of it, okay? So, oh, that reminds me, before I jump in on that, I've got to get something going here, which we will talk about momentarily. So for our steam oven, what we have, when you get your new steam oven, hopefully everyone here either owns a steam oven or is about to be getting it, and you will see within the oven 2 of these racks, okay? So in the oven, you will get 2 racks, which will sit in the 4 different rack places. You will also be getting a perforated pan, which, as you can see, has holes, which allows steam and air to circulate more evenly. So when you're steaming certain things, this is a great pan to use. And it will also come with a solid pan. So this is kind of like a bigger sheet pan. So it'll work the same way. There's so many ways that people call it: a sheet pan, a jelly roll pan, a baking sheet, same idea. You can do all the things you would do on a sheet pan that you can do on this. This is just a little bit wider and bigger, okay? So it will come with both of these pans. You do not need to keep them all in the oven when using your oven. It will come with a full set of racks and pans. You can take them out. What I do generally is I keep 1 rack in the oven at all times, because I use that the most. And then the other pans I keep in a close by cabinet and pull them out when needed, okay? So that is what comes in your oven. I'm gonna pass those off. Today I will be using the perforated pan, the solid pan, and the racks. And I'm also gonna show you a trick with regular sheet pans, okay? So that is the racks here. Second thing to note, we will chat about, but this also comes inside your oven, is a probe thermometer, okay? So the probe thermometer, I'm gonna chat about and use it later to kind of help you understand what it really should be used for and how to use it in your steam oven. And then finally, the last item of business before we start talking about how to actually cook in it is, how do we get water into it? Because what is the first thing a steam oven needs? That would be water to create steam. So your steam ovens, and Abby's gonna do a good job of kind of zooming in, and hopefully it'll give you guys a good idea of the button pushing. But any button on our steam oven will turn it on. So you hit quick start, favorites, gourmet, more, either button will turn it on, and it will go to your home screen, okay? So our home screen we have set here is the quick start screen, and it has our 5 main modes that we'll be talking about: steam, convection, convection and steam, convection humid, and reheat, okay? So we will talk about those. However, when you wanna get your steam oven started, as I said, you need to add water, and there is a button right here that says water. You push that, the water container pops out, as you can see, and this is filled with regular old tap water. I shouldn't say old. It's not old, it's just regular tap water, okay? So you can use any tap water, filtered water is fine, softened water is fine. The only things that you cannot use in your steam oven water container are reverse osmosis water, so RO water, or distilled. Those two waters, what they've done is they are so purified that there's nothing left except H2O. And our steam oven needs the minerals that are left in with the water to read that there is water present. So it works through a light mechanism, and without the minerals in the water, it will think that the water container is empty. So the only things you cannot use are something like reverse osmosis or distilled water. Okay? So that's it, guys. Without further ado, now we can start talking about the cooking and the modes, probably what you really want to hear about. So first things first, if you guys noticed, I set this going right before I started talking about the pans and etc. And that is because I am steaming some corn. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when the corn is done and we pull it out. But I needed to get this going early. It'll take about 10 or so minutes. Fresh corn on the cob, we're going to steam it, and it's going to be tender, delicious, sweet, plump, and juicy. So we're going to pull that out in a few minutes, and I'll show you guys and talk more about that steaming mode. Before that, we're going to talk about a special mode that was not on my main home screen. We're going to talk about a mode called auto steam bake. And what we're going to do, I really want to emphasize the mode, the button pushing, because that can be one of the harder things to get used to on the steam oven. So I'm going to prepare a little beautiful snack that you guys hopefully will want to copy at home because it's so easy, it's delicious, and it's pretty. Really fun to serve as an appetizer for guests. But I'm going to prep this, and then Abby's going to zoom in so you guys can see the buttons that I'm pushing and help you get comfortable with that. So we are making a tart, and that is done with puff pastry. So this is our base, and you can't really see, but all I've done, you can kind of see there's some holes. Oh yeah, you can see that. So I have docked our pastry, created a sort of crust, and then used a fork to prick holes all on the inside to prevent that puff pastry from puffing in the middle, because I want that center part to be filled with goodies, okay? So the crust you want to puff, the center you don't. I'm gonna top this with a really nice aged white cheddar. It's got a lot of flavor, but it's also gonna give us sort of a melty texture, which I think is fabulous in this tart. It gives you sort of density. People have often said that this is like a fancier pizza, and you know what? They're not wrong. It kind of is. So you've got a beautiful, flaky, shatteringly crispy tart layer, and then we've got beautiful cheese. And then instead of tomato sauce, we are using beautiful, fresh heirloom tomatoes. I'm gonna hand that to you. There's like a little bit of extra cheese left that I promise you we will snack on later, okay? So a layer of that nice, sharp cheddar, and then I'm adding a bit of Parmigiano Reggiano because number one, you should always have more cheese. Number two, this is gonna give us a sort of funky saltiness that's really, really pairs beautifully in this tart. And now I'm gonna show you an important thing that I do to prep this tart, okay? So on this sheet pan, you will see a beautiful heirloom tomato, which I actually have one here. Show you guys, we've got this gorgeous heirloom tomato, and I've sliced it up, and I did this an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago, and I have sliced and salted it fairly aggressively, and then set it on this paper towels so that it will sort of drain all that excess water that tomatoes have. That is going to sort of concentrate the flavor of the tomato, and also when it's here on our tart, that is going to help so that the juices from the tomato don't flood our tart. So that is why we salt in advance, okay? And I'm just laying down those beautiful tomatoes right here, and I'm kind of just making sure they're nice and dry, patting them down, and then they can do a tiny bit of overlap. And then I'm going to add, in this bowl, I've got beautiful little cherry tomatoes that I'm going to add as well. So we've got yellow and red, they're heirloom cherry tomatoes, and this is gonna give us more tomato flavor, and it's a bit sweeter than the heirloom variety, and it also gives us a little more texture. Along with that, there are some thinly sliced garlic cloves because garlic, tomatoes, yum. Okay, so I'm laying those all over. And I've done the same thing with these. I salted them like an hour or even longer ago. And then we are setting it in a bowl to drain. I've drained most of that water off, okay? And then lastly, this is kind of a fun extra thing that I do. I love lemons. I love lemon and tomato together, but something that a lot of people don't do, I love the whole lemon. So I have sliced it with the rind and all, thinly sliced. I've popped out all the seeds. You can see where the seeds were because the seeds are the only part of the lemon you do not want. They are bitter and not in a good way. So we kind of want to get those out. We've got those thinly sliced lemons laid all over our tart, along with the tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and the cheese. Okay, so there we've got, and again, I'm going to do a light dusting of salt over the top because I did already salt our tomatoes in advance, but that is it. Okay, now this is ready to go in the oven. Abby is going to zoom in here so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Point of interest, you guys can see this is a sheet pan. This is what is called a half-size sheet pan, but this is the size sheet pan that everyone has at home. This is sort of your residential sheet pan. This does fit in our oven, and a lot of people think it doesn't. As you've seen, we have 4 different rack positions, but in between 1 and 2, or in between 3 and 4, so we'll call it 3.5 or 1.5, you can fit your sheet pans, okay? So in between those places, the sheet pan slides right in. So if you don't want to use your solid pan, you can use a sheet pan. Notice this is an unpreheated oven. Those who have cooked puff pastry before might think this is crazy, but there's a special mode that I'm going to show you here in our steam oven. So home screen, we're gonna go to the more button, okay? Under more, you'll see there is quite a few extra modes. We're gonna use the arrows. This is not a touch screen, okay? You wanna use the arrows until you see auto steam bake. This is sort of our bread / pastry mode. Once you get into auto steam bake, there is our bread option. Use the arrows, you'll see a braided bread option. And of course, our puff pastry option. Just so you guys know, there's also a proofing mode. Fantastic. And proofing is that rising portion of bread baking. It will really, really decrease the amount of time that it takes for breads to double in size, for yeasted products to double in size, okay? So that's proof. We are going back to our puff pastry mode because that is what we have. You're gonna hit enter again, and then you'll see this screen, use rack position 2 or 1 and 3, kind of using in between, and hit enter. It comes up with 410 degrees. It's a great temperature to cook this puff pastry. You're going to start it up, okay? So this is going to start. Now we're gonna jump back and I'm gonna talk a little more about the specific mode. So Ab, if you wanna zoom out, what's happening on this mode? The reason you do not preheat, the reason this is so great for breads and pastries, etc., is because we are going to start with the steam. As the steam comes into the cavity, it's going to create this sort of gummy layer on doughs, whether it be bread or pastry. And that doughy layer is going to help protect your bread from creating a crust too quickly. So that will allow it to rise and you'll get the full rise and puff in your pastry or your bread. Okay, you'll get that airy, beautiful risen loaf. It will also create sort of a shinier, crispier crust that looks like it's been egg washed, tastes and feels like it's been egg washed, but it has not. You guys saw everything I did. That steaming is gonna help give us that shiny, crispy, extra crackly exterior, okay? So as it's preheating, we're getting that steam. Once it gets over that 210 degrees, we're done with the steam injection into the cavity, and now it will rise up to that 400 degrees, that 410 degrees that it is set at, that high heat that is gonna give us browning and crisping and that puff in the pastry, okay? So that is what the auto steam bake mode does. And that is why it is great for your bread baking, for your pastries, all of those examples. So do we have any questions on the auto steam bake mode so far?
Did you have to select duration?
Did you have to select duration? Great question. The answer there is, the way I cook, I don't use a lot of timers and duration. You absolutely could here. I know that this, because I've done it enough, is about 30 to 40 minutes to get that browning and that puffing, okay? If you want to set that 30, 40 minutes. If you're like me and you cook a lot more by the feel and the look of food, then you kind of just watch it. So you could set a duration, but you don't have to. If you've baked bread enough and you know the exact timing, you could absolutely set a duration. Okay, great question. I saw another question, I believe.
You have to prep the oven before first.
Do you have to prep the oven before first use? Nope, it's good to go. The second you get it in your home, which I'm excited for you, I'm assuming this person either just got their oven or they're just about to, all you need to do is put the water in and you'll be good to go. You can take those racks out. You don't have to keep them all in there, but you don't need to do any other prepping. You can just get started. Okay, so with that, auto steam bake mode, if you have any other questions throughout the class, feel free to ask them. I will come back to modes, answer whatever questions you have, but we are going to move along to the next mode to make sure that we're staying on time with our 1 hour session. Fingers crossed we can make it, okay? So that pastry will take, like I said, about 30, 40 minutes. And before the class is over, we'll be able to pull it out and show you guys that beautiful, beautiful pastry. And hopefully you guys will want to do that for your friends and family at home. All right, so remember, you guys, that I have corn in here. And I know that this is about done because it's been in there about 10, 12 minutes, which is great for fresh corn on the cob. So we've got it on the steam mode. And before I pull this out, I want Abby to zoom in real fast so I can show you what I did to get here, okay? So I'm actually gonna stop here. And like I said, back to that question about duration, you can see I didn't set a duration here either because I'm just cooking by look and feel. What we've got here, I'm gonna push off because we're done. And I'll pull this open. So you're gonna get that beautiful steam coming out and you'll see our gorgeous corn on the cob. It is on the perforated pan. So I'll go ahead and pull that and show you guys all of that corn. Oh, they're sliding around, okay? There's our corn. I'm gonna pull them off real fast and just show you guys how beautiful and bright. Well, you can kind of see that video isn't doing it justice, but it is beautiful, bright yellow. I can tell it is juicy and plump and the kernels are gonna be fantastic, okay? Yes, it's a bit hot, but my fingers are pretty much numb to all of that at this point. I'm gonna pass this or have Yvonne grab that corn out of the way. We're gonna let that cool a few minutes before I prep it and show you how we're gonna utilize it. And I'm gonna show you how we got to that steaming mode, okay? So here, again, any button, we turned it on. With that main screen, the first mode that comes up is steam. All I did is I hit enter, tells you the rack positions again, you hit enter, and then from there you can adjust temperature. When I'm steaming vegetables, I always keep it at that 210 degrees. You don't need to adjust it, okay? And now I'm actually going to show you if you wanted to set the duration, what you'd do. I use the arrows to go over one place and it says set duration. You could hit enter. And if I wanted to, I'd set it at about 10 minutes, okay? You'd hit enter again, and then you can start the operation and you would steam for that 10 minutes. It will ding and let you know your corn should be done, okay? You can always add time if you need, if it's not all the way done after that 10 minutes. But that is what we did for our corn, okay? So I'm gonna pull this open and we're actually now going to jump to the next, well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm about ready to do our next food item, but before I do, I kind of want to mention that steam mode, how great it is for a couple other applications. Steam vegetables, fantastic, especially at this time of year. I cannot get enough fresh corn on the cob. It is one of the most beautiful gifts of summer, and you only get it this 2-3 months of the year. So we have corn in the showroom here probably every other day, just because we want to get all that corn that we can. It's so delicious. It does a great job with that. Way better than boiling those big giant pots of corn. Way easier, tastes better too. The texture's fantastic, okay? But you can also do things like make white rice. I say white rice, you can also do brown rice, okay? You can cook a beautiful pot of rice in there. Hard or soft boiled eggs, beautiful in the steam oven on that steam mode. You could do baked custards like a pot de creme or a creme brulee or flan, creme de caramel. There's so many beautiful applications that you can do for cooking custards without a water bath on that steam mode. You could also, of course, poached fish or chicken if you wanted to get that nice, tender, beautiful texture and not have any fishy smell anywhere. It does a fantastic job. And you can thaw foods on that steam mode, dropping the temperature all the way down to 90 degrees. You'll have a beautiful atmosphere for thawing very gently and evenly. You don't have any weird cooked ends like you do on a microwave. Okay, so I think we have a question. Great question. Should you always use a perforated pan for vegetables? My rules in the kitchen, there's not very many hard or fast rules. You can. It's a great way to get that steam and air to circulate throughout those vegetables. But if you used the solid pan, it would be great as well. Okay. And then I better, just because we can, I better tell you guys there's a little trick. If you're using the perforated pan, you can also, I was going to grab the solid. I'll grab one more solid pan. You can steam, if you want to put that in. You can put the perforated pan, pretend this still has food on it. And underneath, you could put the solid pan, which will help catch those drippings from the foods and will prevent a bigger cleanup that you'll need to do in the bottom of the oven. Okay. Question, did you preheat the oven? No, again, I did not. I showed you guys exactly what I did. Most modes do not need preheating in our convection steam oven. It truly does well just to get started. It saves you time, and your food does a little bit better with that being in the oven as the temperature is coming up. It's a gentler cook. It's more even. Great question on that, though, as well. Any other questions on the steam mode? Awesome. I'll hand this back to you. Thank you, Yvonne. Okay, so that is our steam mode. We love it. It does so many wonderful things like I've talked about. If you want details on how to cook the rice or how to cook the eggs or poach the fish, let us know later, or reach out to your local showroom, because all of your local chefs can help you with those exact details and specifics on how to do those things. But it's fantastic. All right, so now I can jump to our next mode. We want to get these little chickens cooking in the oven. You guys can kind of see what we've got here. These are chicken thighs. And I'm going to tell you right now, these are big, beautiful chicken thighs. They are a hot honey butter chicken thigh. It is so yummy. So we've got a mixture that I made with red pepper flakes, with a good Irish butter. I like to use a really good butter here, and some honey and some salt. Okay. And that's going to give us a beautiful end product for our chicken thighs, which are already way better than chicken breasts. I'm going to be honest. So much flavor and so much better texture here. All right. So we're going to cook these in our steam oven. And what's amazing is we've got the bone in, skin on. You're going to get the crispiest, most golden brown, beautiful skin. And the meat is going to stay so tender and juicy and delicious. Okay. So I'm going to start talking about our probe. This is the probe thermometer that comes with your steam oven. Now, it's not often, this is the side that's going to go into the food. It is not often that you get chicken thighs big enough that I can fit this entire probe in there, but we are lucky today. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your chicken thigh, and they've been salted in advance, a good amount of salt, and then smeared with that honey butter mixture. You're going to try to insert this probe all the way through the meat, not touching any bone. And you can see that the probe is all the way through. None of it is sticking out, and it is not touching the bone. Okay, so that we've got our chicken thigh probed and ready to go. And luckily, another important factor, all of our chicken thighs are right about the exact same size, so they will all be done at the same time. Okay, so probe is in. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide our chicken right on in. And I've got actually some little lemon slices that I've also put in with the chicken. Again, notice an unpreheated oven, okay? And this probe, the short stubby side, is going to go in. There's a flap on the right side of the oven, okay? And I'm just going to insert that probe all the way in. From there, I'm going to close it up, and I'll show you exactly how to get to the mode, temperature, and probe for this chicken. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit quick start. Again, or any button to get us to that home screen. I'm going to use my arrows to get to convection steam. I'm going to hit enter. Again, rack positions. Anytime you see this screen, just hit enter again, okay? Oh, what I want to do here, sorry, I went a little too fast there. Now we're in that screen, and I'm going to set the internal temperature of the oven. I want a hotter temperature for these chicken thighs. I'm going to go up to 3. Let's go up to, we're going to go up to 400. I may have to adjust because these are such big chicken thighs. Usually I do 400 degrees, but being bigger, they'll take a little longer to cook. We may need to drop the temp a little bit, but I'll check on these midway through cooking. For now, internal temp of the oven, 400 degrees. And then I'm going to go one place to the left, and you will see set food probe temp. You're going to hit enter. From there, we can adjust to the correct internal temperature. Now, usually when I do chicken, if I'm doing a roast chicken, I probe the breast, the white meat, and I will set it to about 160 degrees. Chicken thighs like to be cooked a little bit more. So I'm going to set this to 170 degrees. And then we'll pull them out, and the carryover cooking, they'll get to 175, which I believe is the best temperature for chicken thighs, the texture and flavor of them. So now all I have to do is hit start. I don't need to set a duration here because when the internal probe reaches 170 degrees, it will let me know, and I will know that is when I want to pull the chicken out, okay? That is our convection steam mode with the probe thermometer. What I'm going to do is talk a little more about the actual convection steam mode. So what is happening on that mode, unlike our auto steam bake mode, which is starting with steam and ending with high heat, what we have going on here, okay, it's starting to get up to a higher temperature. It's almost at 400 degrees. Our convection steam mode is going to, throughout the entire cooking process, inject bursts of steam into the cavity. That steam mixed with high heat is going to give us this incredible browned, crispy crust, the skin on the chicken. While at the same time, that steam is going to help cook the chicken through more evenly. So you end up with moist, tender center and a crispy, browned outside exterior. Okay, that is what the convection steam does. Cooks more evenly, retains a little bit of that moisture, and therefore, because it's cooking faster with steam, retains more of the nutrients. But because we're also working at high heats, we get that browning and that crisping, and it is fantastic. Okay, convection and steam, moist and crispy, kind of those two beautiful textures. So foods that you want with those two attributes do well on convection steam. Think chicken thighs or a full roast chicken, roast turkey as well. For those who are already thinking about Thanksgiving, that is how we cook all of our roast turkeys in the showroom, because the steam oven turkey, way better than a regular oven, okay? If you wanna do something like biscuits, think of that flakiness, that tenderness, and the brown, crispy, flaky top, convection steam. Think mac and cheese with crispy topping. You're gonna get that moist, cheesy, gooey center while getting a crisped, browned topping at the same time. That is where convection steam really elevates your foods. It's an amazing mode. And again, it will cook faster because of the convection and the steam. Okay. Any questions that we've missed? Are we doing good on questions? Awesome. All right, guys. So we're going to take a tiny break from our oven modes so I can show you what we're going to do with that corn. So this is a little trick I'm going to give you. Oh, that corn is just so perfectly cooked. I would eat it right off the cob right now if you guys weren't here. But I'm going to show you how we're going to utilize this and make it something a little more fun. So for those who've ever cut the kernels off the cob, it can be a little bit of a disaster, a little bit of a mess. This is a little trick. Bundt pan, corn goes right in the little hole center. And now we take our knife. As we cut down, you will see all the kernels fall right into my little bundt pan. So you're not going to lose the cobs all over your kitchen counter. They fall right where they're supposed to go. Okay. So this is just a fun little extra tip for your corn on the cob and getting those kernels all nice and ready for the preparation that we are going to use. All right, and I'm really cutting down deep because I want all of that good corn juice and everything, okay? So what I am doing for the corn on the cob is we are going to create a puree. So just like you would do with anyone who's ever made any sort of vegetable puree, like a soup even, we're gonna take this corn, we are going to put it in our blender, and we're gonna get that beautiful sweetness from the corn, that juiciness, as well, and it's gonna make an incredible textured base that plays so well with, let's say, our chicken thighs, which is what we're going to serve it with, but it also is so good with something like a shreddy meat if you were doing pork shoulder. So good with this corn puree, something really nice and savory. You could top it with a bruschetta mixture. You could top it with roasty toasty mushrooms. It's such a fantastic way to serve a vegetable and use it in a different way. There we've got all our corn so quickly, cut right off the cob. And I'm telling you, okay, someone just asked, how much faster does something cook? That is a very broad question and difficult to answer, but I will say in general that steam is gonna cut down your cooking time. If you're doing straight steam, it'll cut down your cooking time by like 40%, okay? Where you might, if you are roasting a chicken, it's gonna be in a regular oven, it's gonna be, you know, a fair 30, 40 minutes. In a steam oven, with straight steam, if you poached it, it might be more like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. With the convection and steam, like what we're getting here, this will probably be cut down to from that 40 minutes to maybe 30-ish minutes, okay? Maybe 25, we'll see. I guess, I don't know exactly what time we put that in, but we'll get a good idea after this. The oven does the oven ding when the chicken is done? The oven will ding when the chicken is done because of the probe that we put into the chicken. If I didn't put the probe in, then I will just be cooking it until I decide it's done. But great question. It will make that pleasant little dinging sound when it reaches either the end of duration or reaches the internal correct temperature that you have set. Okay? Yeah, what do you think? Should I move this over? That's what I'll do. Okay, so what I'm doing, Yvonne's helping me. We are gonna get our corn pureed, okay? So here's our blender, and I'm gonna take all that corn and I'm just gonna add it right in. I'm actually gonna save a little bit of corn set aside for a little salad that we're gonna put over the top of everything. There we go. Fabulous. I'm telling you, these little like shingles of corn on the cob, it's so hard not to just like eat that. It's my favorite part. I'm gonna hand this to you and those are the corn kernels we'll save. Thank you. Okay, so we've got our corn, and then I'm actually gonna add some shallots that I've been cooking down in some butter. Okay, so just softening them up. You're not going for browned caramelized. You really just wanna soften them up. So they've been cooked kind of low and slow. However, if you got them a little brown, it's not gonna be bad. The flavor is gonna be delightful. Your puree just will have a little bit of brown specks in it, okay? So we've got that, and then we're gonna add a bunch of fresh lemon juice. Yvonne just squeezed this for me. So that's gonna give us that acidity that we need. And then, don't freak out, we're gonna add quite a bit of salt. Corn needs salt. So I'm gonna give it one good 4-finger pinch, and then one good 3-finger pinch, okay? We're gonna blend this up. I will taste it and see if it needs any more seasoning after. But hopefully this won't be too loud. We'll just get this a good little blast. It's gonna happen nice and quick. That fast. Looks good, smells divine. It's a gorgeous light yellow color that I just cannot wait. So you're gonna wanna give it a little taste. Oh, it's fantastic. It's got that acidity, that little bit of saltiness, and the savoriness from the browned shallots or the softened shallots. Divine, okay? That is our corn puree. So quick, so easy. And it's gonna kind of like shock your guests because I'm guessing most of them have never had a corn puree at your house before. Thank you, thank you. All right, awesome. Okay guys, so that is our corn puree, and I can jump right on back to talking about our steam oven, okay? So let's move this guy right back. We're gonna talk about another mode, okay? And I'm just gonna check before I do. I wanna check in on our tart. Oh, she is looking beautiful. She needs just probably 1 or so more minutes. I'm gonna pull it out real fast, give you guys a good look at her. Oh, she is pretty. Here's where we're at. Just so I'm giving you guys an idea of what we're looking for. I can see there's still a little bit of blonde spots on our tart. So I'm gonna throw her right back in. We're probably gonna give her about 5 or so more minutes, and then that will be ready to roll, okay? So the tart, very forgiving. You don't have to be too worried, just looking for that browning and that puffing in the crust, okay? All right, so while that's continuing, I'm gonna talk about our convection mode, okay? Now this is the mode I'm gonna mention. Oh, let me go check on those crumbles. Oh, you're the best. Okay, Yvonne's way on top of it, of course. So the convection mode. Because both of our ovens are being used, Abby's not gonna zoom in because you won't, obviously we can't adjust things, but that convection mode is just like, let's say you have a big oven underneath your convection steam oven, your full-size electric oven, let's say you have a dual fuel with an electric oven, all of those have convection modes. And just like those convection modes, this is a true convection. The heating element is directly in front of that fan in the back of the oven. The difference between these, it's a smaller cavity as you've seen, so it's a single convection, not a dual convection where our larger ovens are dual convection. So these are true convection, single convection, okay? So with that, what you're gonna get is a hotter, faster cooking convection oven mode, okay? So foods, where someone asked earlier, like how much time do you save when you're cooking something with steam? In general, my rule for the convection mode, straight convection, no steam is added, just straight convection, is gonna be what I call the 25-25 rule. So approximately, your food is going to be done 25% sooner. And you're going to want to drop the temperature that you would normally cook it at about 25 degrees. It makes it easy to remember that 25-25 rule. However, just like in all things cooking, it's not a hard and fast rule. You can adjust that accordingly. It might be, you might decide, I want to cook this. I'm checking it, and you know what? It's done. It's still not done at 25% sooner. It might need to cook longer. That is totally fine. That is your base rule to judge off of. Start checking your food about 25% sooner than you normally would. Also, our convection is going to give us a beautiful ability to cook multiple racks at once. And it's going to be very even top to bottom, okay? So if I had 2 racks of puff pastry, well, I guess the puff pastry, the auto steam bake mode is different because we're steaming as well. If you had 2 trays of cookies, a great thing to use on the convection mode, then you are going to have a beautiful even top and bottom cooking, okay? The convection mode, it's great. You can utilize it just like you would any other oven. So it's just like having a double oven, but you can see there's so many other modes within the steam oven that are so nice, okay? So that is our convection, straight convection mode. It's like a regular oven. It's gonna cook hotter and faster than a regular straight oven mode, but it's not gonna be quite as fast as our convection and steam. That is because moving air, that convection means moving air. That is a better penetrator of heat than still air, but steam is an even better penetrator of heat than the convection, okay? So you're getting in steps. That convection mode, great. If you like cookies like we do, and we want our cookies immediately, this will preheat 5 minutes, easy. You're gonna get it so much faster than you would in a regular oven, okay? So I'm just coming back here and checking on things. Everything is looking very good. I think our tart is ready to go. Oh no, I set the timer on accident. Well, you know, that's okay. We'll come back there in a moment. If this dings at us in 10 minutes, that's not because it's done. It's because I accidentally just set the timer and I don't want to unset it. Okay, so our tart looks fantastic. I am going to pull this out and show you guys. Any questions? We're good? Okay, awesome. So this is really looking gorgeous. I can't wait to show you guys. The heirloom tomato and cheddar tart with lemon. Oh, I hope. Oh my gosh, it's so beautifully browned, the crust. You guys can kind of see it. Well, I wish we could give you guys a good top-down view. Our camera situation, you know, we do what we can here. But I promise you guys, that golden brown color, it's stunning, okay? All even around the crusts, the crusts, and the sides are just puffed beautifully. Very nice and thick and flaky. So to finish this off, I'm gonna go ahead and flop this down right here. Yeah, I have them right here. Yeah, so thank you. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. I'm going to try to lift this in the back so you guys can really see me topping this. That's pretty good. Okay, so all I'm going to do to finish this, I've got some chives that I've chopped, and I love chives with tomatoes. So I'm giving that a good, hefty chive dolloping. Okay, you know what? Yeah, let's just go all in with the chives. That light, beautiful oniony flavor, and they're so pretty. And then, of course, my favorite thing, we're going to finish it with some flaky salt. Okay, so that salt that doesn't dissolve, this isn't meant to add saltiness per se, but more of a textural element to our tart. That is how we're gonna finish it. Again, I wish you guys, Abby's so excited in the back. If only you guys could see this how we see it. We're gonna cut it up a little bit later and show you kind of a nice big piece of it that if you were serving it, you could put it on a plate. Let's switch with Yvonne, thank you, love. And what's really nice about that, for those out there who really do wanna make this recipe, which you should because it's so good and so easy, it is served delicious when it's warm, but it's almost just as good when it's at room temperature. So this is something you could make in advance, have out for your guests to take when they're just like coming in slowly, or that way you don't have to stress about having all the food hot and done at once. It's so good at room temperature, and it's also good when it's hot, but it does need to rest once it comes out of the oven to kind of settle before we can cut it, okay? So that is our auto steam bake mode with the tart. And now we're going to, oh, I think we see a question, okay?
Does the oven have a self-clean mode?
Okay, in terms of cleaning, we will get to all of the cleaning at the end of the cooking mode so we can kind of keep it nice and organized. It does not have a self-cleaning mode, but we will get there in terms of cleaning. And someone asked, can you do cookies in convection steam mode? Honestly, you can do anything, but cookies, that dough, that dense dough, cookies do better on the straight convection mode. Okay, so straight convection, you don't really want to add steam to your cookies. I guess depending on the type of cookie, but I find that my cookies do all better in the straight regular convection mode. Okay, great question there though, great question. You can always test it, try it out and let me know how it goes. Maybe I should be doing convection steam for my cookies. Okay, awesome. So now we've got, remember, chicken in this oven. They're looking really good. And now over here, we are going to show you another mode, okay? So what Yvonne has brought over for me is a little blueberry cardamom crumble. So what I'm showing here, you know what? I guess I can just use the tray, or I mean the rack, because it's only one guy. So we're doing a little individual sized fruit crumble. There might be someone out there going, wow, that's a big individual serving size. Yes, we love to eat here. And this is an individual serving size for us in desserts. We love our treats, okay? So this, we've got blueberries, and I've just mixed it with lemon juice, a little bit of sugar, some salt, and a touch of cornstarch, not very much, just enough because blueberries are so juicy that it'll lightly thicken those juices up. You don't want it to be gloopy and gummy. You just want it to be sort of lightly thickened, okay? A little bit of cornstarch, lemon, and sugar, and of course a pinch of salt. In my opinion, crumbles, fruit crumbles, or depending where you are in the United States, it could be a fruit crisp, it could be a fruit buckle. I know there's a lot of different applications that people are talking about the same thing, but they call it something different. I'm calling it a crumble here, okay? Juicy fruit in the bottom, and then we are topping it with this gorgeous, crumbly, filled with oats and cardamom flavor topping, okay? So this is going to give us, again, what I think is one of the best desserts around. So simple, but in the summer, and if it's done right, almost nothing beats warm, jammy fruit and buttery, streusely crumble on top. When it's warm with vanilla ice cream, oh, fantastic. So that's what we have here. However, cooking this in your steam oven, I am telling you all right now, you will never have a better crumble or streusel or crisp than in your steam oven. So what we are going to show you now is another mode, okay? So Abby's going to zoom in. You guys saw this oven is already hot, but I planned the food accordingly because this does well if it goes into a warm oven or if it goes into an unpreheated oven. Either way, it's going to perform beautifully here in our oven, okay? I'm gonna cook this on the convection humid mode, okay? Convection humid. I'm gonna hit enter. From here, I don't need to adjust the temperature. It is at 330 degrees, which is the equivalent of 350 degrees, which is what I would cook it on in a regular oven. I want it to go a little bit slowly so that the fruit has time to break down and get a little jammy, but I don't want to go too fast so that crisp part doesn't over brown before the fruit is jammy, okay? Start it up. That's all I'm doing. Now, I'm gonna jump back over here and kind of walk you guys through the actual mode. Convection humid. This mode, unlike our convection and steam mode, or our dry convection mode, we are going to get moisture without adding steam. And how we accomplish that is, in this mode, it's going to close off the vent that's in the top of the oven. The vent that allows steam and moisture to escape the oven, giving you a good dry oven hot temperature. But this mode is going to block that vent. By blocking that vent, it's going to retain the moisture that is inherently found already in the food. So it's kind of like this humid, steamy environment, but I don't want to inject steam into my crumble. I just want that juicy steam to help cook things evenly, and you end up with a product where the streusel is so perfectly and beautifully browned, and the fruit, I'm telling you, whatever happens with the fruit on this mode cannot be replicated. The blueberries, like I do here, is truly one of my favorite crumbles. That cardamom plays so beautifully with the blueberries. And in the convection steam mode, or convection humid mode, apologies, the blueberries retain their shape. So they stay like little plump circle blueberries, spheres, but they also have sort of released this juice that becomes so flavorful and the perfect amount of thickness. So you get those plump berries that haven't totally broken down. You get that brown streusel that the streusel kind of has this ability to be a little more cohesive because of that convection humid mode. Okay, so that is the mode we're using. Other food items that can be used and show beautifully in our convection humid mode are things like batters. Think cakes, muffins, quick breads. It is summer. It is zucchini season. It is like too many zucchinis. You don't know what to do with them. This is when people start making all the zucchini bread. Well, guess what? You'll never have a better zucchini bread than in your convection humid mode in your steam oven. I can't wait for any of you out there who have a garden. My dad, his garden is blowing up. There are zucchinis just coming out of his ears, and we start utilizing it to make everything you can. And zucchini bread is one of those things. For those of you out there who have a garden, you know what I mean. You should get making this zucchini bread and use your steam oven today. You'll be so, so happy, okay? It also, on the other side of things, does a beautiful job with braises. If you think about it, we've talked about how it's closing off the vent in the top of the oven, so it's retaining the moisture. That's the same idea as if you were putting a lid on a pot and braising your short ribs or braising your pork shoulder. Okay, it's going to retain that moisture without actually having to put a lid on or cover a pan in aluminum foil. Think ribs. Oh my goodness, this makes the best ribs because they are cooked gently, low and slow, and they use the moisture that's in them, but you don't have to cover them in foil, and they get browned, also becoming so tender. Okay, a fantastic mode for all of those applications. Okay, this is the timer that I said ignore because it was an accidental timer set, but our chickens are looking pretty close, okay? Just coming in and checking on these guys. After all of that being said, do we have any more questions? Okay, Abby says we have a question. If you guys are wondering, I am adjusting. My chickens are looking really good, so I'm adjusting them higher temperature because the internal temperature is getting pretty close, and I do want more browning. So if you're wondering, I was just increasing our oven temperature to 425 degrees, okay? And now, question. 3 questions, okay? So Abby will give me the question, I will shout the question back to you and answer. Oh, you guys can see the questions. Oh, great, okay. Give me the questions.
Wondering about steam convection modes for bread baking. Currently, I have to add a bunch of mass in order to create steam in the oven. I convection bake the bread at 475 for 20 minutes before stopping the steam. Is that possible in the oven? If you're going to bake bread later in the demo, you can answer that.
Okay, someone asked about bread baking. It's quite a long, and luckily everyone can see that, so I don't have to worry. A long, more involved, specific question, quite technical. For bread baking, I'm not baking bread today. I utilized the bread baking mode to make that puff pastry, if you'll remember. Okay, so with our steam oven, what you want to do is utilize that auto steam bake mode. That's similar to what our bread question just asked. It is going to start with a lot of steam, but it's going to do that itself. Okay, so it's going to start with steam, and then it's going to jump to high heat and convection, which is basically what this question just described doing. You're going to just utilize the auto steam bake mode. So I don't know if this guest missed the beginning of the class. If you did, we did talk about that at the very beginning, and this whole Zoom class will be on our YouTube channel later. So you could go back and watch that, but I talked about bread baking in that auto steam bake mode as well. Hopefully that answers your question well. Bread is a whole big complicated world, and you can get into it I could have this conversation with you for at least 30 minutes. I don't want to do that because we've got to finish this whole class, but that's a great question, and hopefully that answers it for now. Okay, next question.
Simpler version of the question, can you steam at 475?
Simpler version of the question, can you steam at 475? Our steam ovens only go up to 440 degrees. Okay, so for you bread bakers out there, I will say that's a hard thing for me as well. You want to go up really, really high temperatures. The 440 degrees actually does create an environment that is more like 475, 485 degrees. So you can definitely sort of cheat the system there. And you could do, for you, they ask, you could do a convection steam mode at 440 degrees. But again, I think bread does a little bit better on our auto steam bake mode that's made for bread baking. Turn the temp all the way up to 440 degrees. Okay, next question.
I have a problem with my baked goods getting too brown where they are close to the pan. Do I need to rotate the pan halfway through? Someone said +1, someone said same here.
I love. So the question that I'm answering now is regarding the browning in the back. I love, you are correct. Now, I'm very honest as a teacher, because I believe that's what we should be. I'm not going to pretend like this is going to bake perfectly front to back. You've noticed it in your kitchens, and maybe you didn't notice when I pulled that tart out to show you, I did rotate it as well, because these ovens, most of that heat is coming from the back heating element. So of course it makes sense that you're going to get a little more browning in the back and less in the front. Please, please, please feel free. Don't feel like your oven's messed up or there's something wrong with your oven because you need to rotate it front to back. Pull it out, give it one turn. One time during cooking is usually all I need to do, and you'll get that even front to back if you turn it once. What you won't need to do is top to bottom rotation, okay? That I want to clarify. It is okay, it is good to rotate your pans front to back. So you are in good, you're great. I rotated my tart once. The higher the heat and the longer your food item is in the oven, the more you're going to notice that discrepancy. So rotate once halfway through cooking and you should be perfect. Great question. I'm so glad you asked that.
Do you use a probe to cook a pork shoulder in the convection humid mode?
Do I use a probe to cook a pork shoulder in the convection humid mode? The answer to that is yes and no, because number one, when you're cooking pork shoulder, depending on the texture you want, some people like it to be tender but sliceable. That is a very specific temperature. Or if you're like me and you just want it kind of more shredding and falling apart, big chunks of tender pork shoulder, you can kind of just cook it until you like the texture it's at. So what I generally do is I cook my pork shoulder very low and slow on convection humid, about 250 degrees. And then I will come and check on it after 4 or so hours. It's a very forgiving piece of meat, a very forgiving style of cooking. And I'll take a fork and I'll just kind of like pull a piece of the pork off. And if I like the texture and how it's pulling and how tender it is, then I'll stop it. If you want that, if you can probe it as well if you don't want to do what I'm doing because maybe you need a little more direction, set your probe to 200 degrees internal temperature. That's where you get the shredding, falling apart style of pork shoulder. If you like it to be sliceable, you want to set it at between 165 and 185 degrees, depending again, just how well done you want it. Okay, great question, but you can absolutely probe that pork shoulder depending on the texture you want. Hopefully that answers that question fully. Okay, awesome. Oh, one more question.
What is the difference between auto reheat and reheat? I find reheat several different menus.
Great question. So this is a question regarding reheat, which funny enough, we are about to talk about right now. Okay, so I'm going to answer your question as I talk about the last mode in our settings. Okay, so again, both my ovens are being utilized. Our chicken is very close to being done. It's beautiful golden brown, almost at that right internal temperature. And our crumble, it does need a bit longer. That's going to go about 15 or 20 more minutes. The reheat mode is on that main screen, which obviously I can't show you right now. Quick start, use your arrows to go all the way to the end. It's the 5th mode, okay? The reheat mode is truly one of the reasons a lot of people buy our convection steam oven, because it's so incredible. Like if any of you have ever tried to reheat chicken thighs in your microwave the next day, it's not a good thing. Our steam oven, with that gentle reheat and steam kind of added into the cavity, you can literally reheat anything and it will be delicious. I'm talking reheat chicken thighs the next day, reheat pasta, which is wild, reheat rice beautifully, all of those things. Okay, so that reheat mode is fantastic. It's made mostly for like a plate of food. You can take your plate with all the foods on it, just like you would a microwave, put it directly on the rack, and it comes up at 250 degrees, just inherently, which is a great temperature for reheating. Don't preheat, just put it in, and it might take between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on the food, the amount, the density, etc. Just taste it as you go. If you check it after 5 minutes and it needs longer, great, go a little longer. Okay, now to get into that question specifically, they said they see reheat in multiple different menus. You do, and it's a bit confusing. If you want to just use that reheat mode and you like how it does, to me, that's the mode I use more often. But there is, under the more section, use your arrows and you'll see an auto reheat mode. That is using the reheat mode, but it's just going to add or take away steam from the oven. So if you are auto reheating something crispy, it won't add steam into the oven. It'll keep it more dry. Okay, so that's a great way. If you have like a whole pot of mac and cheese like we talked about earlier and you want that top to stay crispy, you could do auto reheat crispy. If I wanted to reheat this gorgeous tart, this little beautiful piece of tart, auto reheat crispy would be the way to do it. Okay, if you wanted to reheat something like rice or mashed potatoes, for instance, you could do auto reheat moist, because you want to keep that moisture in the food. That hopefully clarifies it. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. You could use the regular reheat mode, or you could use the auto reheat now that you know what those two different modes do. The regular reheat mode is more like the moist, where it's going to add the steam. Okay, but I will tell you, I use the regular reheat in the main home screen much more often. Okay, and you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, our chicken is 1 degree from being done. So I'm going to pull it out, and then that way I can show you guys. I'm going to go into the mode and show you the reheat mode, because I do have a special little trick. For my person with the reheat mode question, I have a good little trick for you. Okay, so like I said, we are within 1 degree. That is great. I can totally pull this chicken out right now. I want to see if it's going to give us the ding. I can hear it. It's about to happen. I just want to show them that I wasn't lying, that it will ding for you if you want. Can they hear it? It dinged. Okay. Oh, you might not be able to hear it if I put my ear next to it. Exactly. There it is. Okay. All of my questions out there for the dinging. There it is. Oh, our chicken looks so good. Okay, so I'm going to gently pull this out. You got to be a little careful here. We've got splattery hot chicken juices. So I'm going to pull the probe. And show you guys. This is a little dangerous. I can't turn the tray because we've got chicken fat and butter that's going to fly off the edge. But you will see it once we plate it up, okay? Our chicken looks gorgeous. Do you have a tongs for me? I'm going to pull up a chicken so they can see how gorgeous this is. It's worth it. Thank you, thank you. Look at this beautiful golden brown baby. That is crispy, beautiful caramelized skin. I'm trying to figure out the best way to, there he is. Okay, that's what our chicken all looks like. It's fantastic. Luckily for us, this can sit for a minute, and we want it to kind of cool down before we dig in. You will burn your little mouths off. While it does, now I'm going to show you that reheat mode real fast, and then we can jump into plating the food and then cleaning. Okay, so main home screen, those 5 modes. Use your arrows to get to reheat. Hit enter, enter again, and then you're going to see this temperature it automatically uses is 250 degrees. You can adjust that if you want. I generally do not. I like that temperature for reheating. Now, this is the trick I want to show you. If you started this up, okay, and it's going to start heating up, it's going to get to that 250 degrees, and it's going to utilize steam. You can put a timer if you want. Now, this is the cool trick I want to show you. A lot of foods do really well if you start with the steam, and then let's say you have that mac and cheese, and I want to add the steam to help the pasta, the cheese stay nice and juicy, but then I want to finish with crisping so the top gets brown and crispy again. Use your arrows while it's in the preheat mode, but it's reheating right now, and you've used steam for 5 minutes. Now you can use your arrows to go to this last little box that looks like a puff of steam. You can hit enter, and that will turn the steam off, therefore giving you that crispy finishing mode, okay? So you can start with steam and end with that crisping high heat and no steam on your own. You can turn it back on if you want, okay? That's my special trick with the reheat mode. I'm gonna be done with that mode, and we are going to move to the cleaning, and then I'm actually gonna plate up at the end, okay? I think that seems a good way to go. All right, so chat on cleaning. Luckily, cleaning of this oven is very, very easy because 2 parts. Now, let me tell you, inherently, this is a stainless cavity. This is going to clean so much easier than an enameled, coated, okay? Stainless steel, you can use easy off. We use the fume free because if you didn't, you would, like, the fumes are just crazy. So we use easy off fume free, and you can spray it all in the cavity safely because it's stainless steel. We will not use this on any other appliances because the chemicals in here are a little too harsh and they will etch away and scratch at your enameled surface. But stainless steel is made, or easy off is made for stainless steel surfaces, okay? We put it on, we'll take each rack out. For instance, chicken thighs, fat, high heat, it's splattery. So this is a pretty messy oven right now. We will take our racks, and these are hot right now, but we'll put these if they need. This is still pretty clean, but if it was dirty, take your racks, throw it in a big bag, spray easy off in the bag with these, close up the bag and wait 4 or so hours, and then all of the stuff will fall right off the racks. You can also very easily take off the side racking. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that for you right now because this is very hot. This was a 440-degree oven, but you can see right here where I'm pointing, there's little knobs. I'm sure if you're at your steam ovens right now, you guys can see them. That knob, you can twist. It's the same idea as righty-tighty or lefty-loosey. So if this wasn't hot, I would just twist the knob to the left. It's just too hot, and I can't use these. But you'll twist that, it'll come right off, and these side racks pop right out of the oven. You'll pop that out, throw those in with the racks as well, and they will, same idea, you can wipe those all off after, okay? Spray the inside of the oven, close up the oven, wait a couple hours, wipe, clean as a whistle, okay? So that is kind of our main, when you have a dirty oven, that's what we do. If you just want to do a gentler clean, guess what? Someone asked about that self-cleaning mode. Steam ovens inherently with that steam mode can be sort of self-cleaning because steam helps to pull things off the sides, pull off grease and gunk and stuck on foods so that you can just run a steam with no food in there, steam it for 15 minutes and wipe off any of that kind of gunk. But if you just have a little spot you need to get, feel free to use our other favorite, Barkeeper's Friend. This is a great way to kind of spot treat your steam oven. Put a blob of this on your spot, and then you can use a non-scratch, like Scotch-Brite pad, to kind of get that little piece off, okay? You can also use water and vinegar. We will use this generally for just any grease cleanup or just a quick wipe out. Water, vinegar, spray it, wipe with a microfiber cloth, and you're good to go. So that's the main cleaning. The probe, importantly, we do not put in the dishwasher. The probe needs to be cleaned by hand. Just wash it with a little soapy water and then dry it, and it's done. If you put it in the dishwasher, it's gonna kind of mess it up and it's not gonna work effectively anymore. For the outside of the oven, water, vinegar, microfiber cloth. That is what we do, okay? Cleanup is that easy. It's very, very simple when it comes to the steam oven. That should kind of clarify any and all questions of cleaning. If you have any more, let me know. But we are right at the end of time, so I'm gonna plate up our final dish. And then, and Yvonne, if you'll grab the ice cream, we can show them that beautiful. I'm gonna do this, yeah, so just in a second. All right, guys, so, can you spray the Easy Off in a warm oven? I don't recommend, because those fumes are gonna hit you even harder. So wait till it's at least a little bit cooled, okay? Great question. Someone out there is a mega cleaner, and they don't even like when the oven is messy for 5 seconds. I love it. Okay, guys, so plating this up. Remember that gorgeous corn puree? It's nice and thick. So what I'm gonna do, I like to take a spoonful, kind of put it right down in the center, just off center. You could do a plate. We're using a very shallow bowl. And then I kind of just give it a nice little swipe, okay? So that's gonna give us a beautiful base for our chicken thigh to rest. Leave that spoon in there. We're then gonna take those gorgeous, that one's really big, I'll do this one. Gorgeous, gorgeous chicken thighs and lay that right over the top, okay? If you want, my favorite part, you can't really see, but this is a little caramelized lemon peel or lemon round that I cooked in the oven with the chicken. It's just like sweet and caramelized and jammy. And then we're gonna finish off with a very simple salad, okay? Just to kind of elevate this and make it nice and pretty. What we're gonna do in this bowl, I have some of those cherry tomatoes I've sliced up with a few garlic cloves, salted them in advance. That corn, if you'll remember, we saved and set aside. We're gonna add the corn right in with the tomatoes. We are then going to add a whole heap of fresh herbs. I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe I'll move this onto here. So we've got some chives, some basil, some mint, some cilantro, some parsley, and it is going to create this really nice, fresh salad that pairs beautifully with the rich chicken and corn puree. And then I'm just gonna take a little bit of lemon juice, squeeze right over, just enough to kind of give it a light dressing. Of course, some salt. And then toss that gently together in this bowl. Even this alone is really quite good. But if we just take this lovely salad and you can kind of just chop it all over and around our chicken and corn puree. And those little extra pieces of corn, oh, they're just like a nice little textural addition to what we've done with the puree. And that is going to be, oh, a little extra flaky salt on top, because as I told you guys, I finished almost all food with a little flaky salt. That's gonna be our chicken. If you wanna be crazy, like we are here, we love spice. These are pickled Fresno chili peppers that I've pickled far in advance. And if you wanna add a little bit of kick to your dish, these are so yummy with that, okay? We'll probably show you, we'll try to give you a better picture of our food at the end, but I do wanna just show you how we finish off. Remember those crumbles? We did cook a few in advance. So we did a blueberry one. I also did a raspberry one and a blackberry one. So 3 different fruits, 3 different crumbles. You can kind of all share or have one. They're so good. You guys all know. All you want to do, get a lovely scoop of a really good vanilla ice cream. We use Haagen-Dazs vanilla bean. I am a I believe only in Haagen-Dazs vanilla bean. It's the best ice cream ever. And that's going to be our dessert. Okay, let it melt right onto that fruit. As the ice cream melts, it kind of becomes a sauce that mixes with the jammy fruit and the crispy topping, and it is just fantastic. Okay, that's gonna be our simple summer lunch for you guys, all done in the steam oven. Okay, this fruit crumble has a little bit longer to go, but you guys can see here. Oh, maybe I'll move it a little bit more to here. Abby's gonna pick up the camera for you all now so you can just get a better view of our little summer meal, okay? Fresh foods, all summer produce. Here's our chicken with the salad and the corn puree underneath. And then here's our tart, how that ended up, and then that beautiful fruit crumble, okay? That is our steam oven meal. Do you guys have any other questions? Or I think we're good to go. If you guys are ready now, you can all go make your own lunch. Maybe even you cooked along. But if you have any more questions, concerns, or you're wanting another steam oven even, each of you has a local showroom closer to you, and you can reach out to them at any time. The chefs there are so happy. We're so happy to help answer questions, give you recipes and direction. We have amazing consultants in every single showroom that, again, if you call, reach out, email, we'll all be there to kind of help you along in your journey of a steam oven. So please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us here in Salt Lake City. We hope to see you guys again and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.